Thank you, and want to start off by thanking the town of Raymond for hosting us this evening. Want to pull the slide up, please?
Oh, yes. Oh, actually, no, that's them.
Okay, thank you guys. So we'll start. Want to welcome people to a public information session for Sebago Lake Region Broadband Project. We want to thank the town of Raymond for hosting us tonight at the broadcast studio. And I'm going to introduce Clara McColl from GPCOG, who's going to give us an overview of how we got here.
Thanks, Andrew. Hi, everyone. I'm Clara McCool. I'm the Regional Broadband Program Manager at GPCOG, which is the Greater Portland Council of Governments. And then if we could put up the slide. Perfect. So GPCOG is a regional planning agency. We have 25 dues-paying communities in the Cumberland County, and these communities pay dues to have us do multiple different planning efforts with transportation, sustainability, housing, and more recently, we've done a lot of work around broadband. So back in 2021, a group of towns, Casco, Naples, Sebago, Standish, and Raymond, got together to form the Cumberland-Oxford Lakes Area Broadband Committee. So this group essentially was trying to identify a solution to expand broadband to every single home in their town. So they're really looking for universal service. Each of these 5 towns had people who were being left out, who couldn't connect to the internet, and definitely that sort of inequality was highlighted by the pandemic and people having to take school from home, work from home, access telehealth from home. So GPCOG has been working with these 5 communities for the past couple years. Most recently, we were awarded a grant from the Maine Connectivity Authority, which is the state broadband agency. We were awarded the Get Ready Grant Program, which provided each town with $10,000 to do planning around our broadband effort. So about a year ago, we issued out a request for proposals to identify different internet service providers that would come into these 5 communities and try to identify a solution that would serve everyone. So we received responses from 5 different internet service providers. Each internet service provider gave us pricing, a business model. Over the course of months, we interviewed each internet service provider, did a careful evaluation with the CoLab Steering Committee, which is made up of select board members and town residents from each of the 5 towns in the project. So this group would meet every other week, go through the proposals we got, meet with internet service providers, and ask questions. So tonight we're here to talk about the solution that the CoLab Steering Committee ended up choosing, which is a private ISP with a municipal partner model. So SebagoFiber, Andrew, and Brandy are going to talk a little bit more about what that model looks like as we go on. But essentially, this model was really attractive to the steering committee because it offered a phased approach to get fiber to every resident in the community, provide universal service, but in a way that didn't require a huge upfront cost. So I won't go too much into detail about the model. I will let Andrew do that, and I will pass it over to him now. Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. So just some quick introductions. I'm Andrew Davis. I'm the owner and manager of SebagoFiber. I've got with me tonight Brandy Shido, who's our Director of Marketing Community Engagement, as well as Eric Morin, who's our Chief Technology Officer. And they'll jump up here for different sections of the presentation tonight. So we're a little background on the company. SebagoFiber, we're a Maine-based company. It's private, family-owned by my family. We have local service technicians based in your communities here, specifically in Baldwin and Raymond. We're very different from a traditional telecom company. We're lean, we have an efficient team, we deliver fast, personalized service, often from people who you know or your neighbors. The same person who does an installation may be the person you're talking to on the phone. What makes us different? There's no investors, there's no private equity, there's no big corporations. We try to make things easy for the customers. There's no waiting on the phone for hours or visiting a service center in Portland to pick something up or drop something off. We also publish service guarantees about the quality of the network. We also do something very unusual in this industry today, which is we have transparent pricing published on the website for everyone to see. And everyone gets the same pricing. You're not dealing with a bundle or different gimmicks. The price is the price. It's just published for everyone to see, and we try to make it simple and straightforward. So a little background, SebagoFiber, we first built out Fry Island, which for the 5 towns here tonight should be familiar. It's an island in the middle of Sebago Lake. We had a plan to do 60% of this island over 3 years. We ended up doing 96% of it in just under a year and a half. And then this spring, we finished 100% of that island. Today, 2/3 of the internet customers on Fry Island have switched to SebagoFiber, based on this model we talked about. And the other thing I'll note is we did a phased approach. The phases ended up being very quick on Fry Island, but it was a phased approach based on demand and interest, which will explain to you how we do that. So we look at this as approach as investing in your community. We do this in 2 different ways. For areas that are grant eligible, that have unserved homes, meaning they do not have internet meeting the state or federal standards, we partner with those towns and do grants. And we'll give you an example of that for the town of Sebago. And we're very lucky to have some of those Sebago Broadband Committee members actually on the call tonight. For towns that are not grant eligible, which are the other 4 towns around Sebago Lake, we do what we'll cover is called a phased build approach. That's based on the results of you as residents participating in a survey to indicate your interest. We also partner with the towns, and we treat the towns as a customer first. The towns may choose to be a municipal fiber partner and choose to have fiber connecting their facilities. By doing that, it can accelerate the program. I will remind people that as they join, they're going on mute, which I just said before, and we're going to have a very detailed Q&A period later on. Apologies for not mentioning that earlier. So the things that towns may do, if the towns choose to get municipal fiber between the buildings, that can accelerate the residential fiber to the service homes. If we're building fiber between the DPW building and town hall, the homes that are passed become very easy for us to serve. All this is important because building fiber, we're not reusing things on the poles. We're actually attaching the poles. We're putting up brand new fiber, connecting those, because the majority, or actually the entire area of these 5 towns, there is no fiber to the home service today, with the exception of Fry Island. So we're building a lot of infrastructure. It's hundreds of miles of fiber throughout the region. And we build that based on the business case for the commercial side for residential service, as well as the town's needs. So I mentioned the town of Sebago. So the town of Sebago, the area in yellow, which is universal coverage of the town of Sebago, as well as the unserved areas of some of the neighboring communities, including 152 homes in North Baldwin, 21 homes in Hiram, 23 homes in Naples, 52 homes in Bridgeton. Those are included in a grant that we will see the results of in January 2024 when that grant period is announced. We've had an overwhelming number of support from all the towns, both including the grant and the neighboring towns, and we're optimistic about that project. So for areas in that town, if the grant is funded, it'll be a universal build of the whole thing in 2024. For the other 4 towns, shown in a blue or purple color here, these are the towns of Naples, Casco, Raymond, and Standish. They are going to would be part of a phased build, which is based on street-by-street results of your participation in that survey. We choose to invest our private capital in areas where there's enough interest that we can be commercially successful in building that and provide service, and then we do that year after year and reinvest until we reach covering the whole community, which is what occurred on Fry Island. We intended only to do a portion. The demand was there. We covered the whole thing as a result. So I'm going to turn it over to Brandy, who leads our community engagement. She's going to talk a little bit more about the demand survey, which is already underway in these communities.
Thanks, Andrew. So you may have already seen that we've launched a demand survey in the town. You may have seen the road signs, Facebook posts, etc. So the way that we build our network is based on demand. So rather than trying to build out an entire town over a very long period of time and then wait a year or more for everyone to get service, we build it based on the responses on the survey. So wherever, street by street, whatever streets are wanting service, we'll build those and turn them on. And then we'll build the next street and turn it on. So we reach out to everybody in the community. We're working with all of the towns to make sure that everyone knows about the survey. And then we will look at all of that data as it comes in and then decide where and how and on what timeline each area will be built. So this is just a quick screenshot of the survey, but if you go to SebagoFiber.net/lake, you will find the survey. If you have not filled it out, we would ask that you do so. It takes about 3 minutes. If you are not interested in service, you're allowed to say that on there. What the plan that you choose is not a commitment, but it just lets us know what people might be interested in. And we ask for your address and how you heard about the survey. You are not required to provide your contact information, but if you do, we'll make sure to add you to our list to get email updates about service coming to your area. So what are you going to get from SebagoFiber? So all of our plans, as Andrew said before, are posted online with pricing. These are not introductory prices that are going to go up in 3 months or anything like that. This is your price, and it's published online. So we have plans starting at $0 actually for the affordability plan, and this would be customers who are eligible for the ACP, the federal affordability program. So if you've applied for that and you're eligible, you can get your internet for nothing. Going up from there, we have plans starting at $75 a month. All of the SebagoFiber plans are symmetrical upload and download speed, and we'll talk about what that means in just a few minutes for those of you who aren't quite sure. There are no data caps on these plans. Some people may have heard of data caps or a certain amount of data that you can use. There is no cap here. We also provide a managed Wi-Fi router for free. You're not paying a monthly rental fee for that, or you can bring your own and use it. Again, all of these plans are online on our website and tell you a little bit about what each speed plan will do for you and what plan you might want, but reach out to us if you have questions. We also have business plans, again, posted online. There are 4 different business plans, from your just basic business essentials package all the way up to a managed plan with 2 gigabytes of service upload and download, which will service the largest customers. And if you need something more than that, reach out to us and we will work with you on whatever you need. So I would like to talk a little bit about our customer service. As Andrew said, we try to maintain a lean and efficient organization. Fiber has a lot higher reliability than other services, so you're not going to need to get in touch with us very often, we hope. But when you do, your local service technicians are living here in your community. You probably already know them. The people that you talk to on the phone are probably the people that are going to come out and install your service or assist you with any issues. We also do active system monitoring, which means that our technicians are looking at the system, and we might even notify you of an issue before you notice it, and we will reach out to you to help you solve it proactively. The first line of support with SebagoFiber is email. If you have the ability to send us an email, you can do so, and it actually goes to all of our service technicians, and the first person who is available to respond will do so. Sometimes that can take just minutes or just an hour or so, but always same day. We also have phone support available, but if you send us that email, let us know when you want us to call you back. You don't need to call and wait to get somebody on hold for hours and hours. We'll call you back on your schedule. We also have an online billing portal, so you can log in, make changes to your account very quickly and easily. But again, you can always reach out if you need assistance. All right, so we talked about things like upload and download speed. What does all that mean? So I'm going to turn it over to Eric to give a quick primer on these terms.
Thank you, Brandy. I'm Eric Morin. So a little bit, a bit of a visual here on, we always hear about upload speed, download speed. We wanted to start with some basics to talk about upload activity, meaning when you're trying to upload a video to your favorite social media or making a purchase or even in nowadays, more importantly, in a real-time online meeting like we're doing today. And download, of course, is streaming, receiving any type of data. And so the 2 important things are bandwidth and latency. Bandwidth is how large that pipe is, and how much can flow through the pipe, and latency is is really the time it takes to connect to the service on the internet that you'd like to connect to, and the time it takes to respond. So it's a round trip time measured in thousands of seconds. So fiber versus cable. So fiber's king. Fiber allows us, it has orders of magnitude much larger, greater ability to carry more data, both upstream, downstream. They're unlike cable, where it's very limited for upload and upstream bandwidth. Fiber is not. Another important factor, typically fiber is much more reliable for several reasons, one being that the signal over fiber can travel up to 25 miles, whereas cable, every couple miles, you actually have to have active equipment with batteries and electronics out in the field. So by having a very long distance, 25 miles, it allows us to consolidate all of that active equipment in very robust and redundant locations with backup generators and so forth. And so it's typically much more reliable, much less affected by rain and power outages. So again, fiber doesn't suffer from the lack of upload bandwidth or upstream bandwidth, which is why you'll see that our service packages are all symmetrical, meaning that the upload and download speeds are going to be the same. Unlike some over cable, where you may have a large advertised bandwidth, but that's actually a download speed and does not typically include the upload speed. As one example here, 300 megabits. 300 megabits package with a cable provider, maybe up to 300 megabits down, but typically a small fraction of that up, in this case 20 megabits per second. And so when you were talking, multiple Zoom meetings and so forth, and uploading videos to social media while having a Zoom meeting could be detrimental. An example of low latency, the current network on Fry Island measures about 15 milliseconds, so it's 15 1,000ths of a second between household on Fry Island and Google, whereas networks in Raymond and Sebago cable networks are seeing between 35 and 130 milliseconds of latency to the same Google server. So I'll pass the controller over to Andrew.
Thank you, Eric. So we've been talking about the fiber internet service. Questions people usually have is about, what about those other things, streaming, TV, and phone? So we do not bundle TV with our services today. We are focused right now on providing the best, highest quality fiber internet to your home, but that enables you to have many choices, and we think those choices are important. So for TV service, you have a choice of everything from a streaming package from like $8 a month up to YouTube live TV that could be $75 a month, with many choices in between. We will explore some options to give you some recommended solutions, but for all these providers, we will be focused on the high quality of their services being delivered, and we will be testing and making sure that we fully support and partner with these companies. It can give you some very strong options. On the phone, or also known as voice over IP options, you have many choices to choose from, including things like residential UMA service, which is really $0 a month plus small fees for taxes. So our goal here is to focus and give you the best, highest quality, reliable internet and multiple choices for streaming TV and phone. And we'll give you some recommended options, and our technicians will be able to make it easy for you to use those and get set up. So just want to talk for a second about, we mentioned there's new fiber going on the poles. So just to give you some ideas of what this means for installation at your home. So on the poles, there'll be a new fiber terminal, either at the pole near your house. This is a Corning terminal here. These get mounted to the strand, and they've got ports to plug in the fiber drops. A piece of fiber cable comes to your house, and you won't be able to see this on the camera, but there's actually, the fiber itself is smaller than a human hair here on the tip, and the rest of this is just to protect it. So if we want to go back to the slide for a second. So that new fiber comes in from the pole to your home. Here we're showing an aerial, and we can show people a buried example as well if you have conduit come to your house. But that new fiber comes to the house. Near the power meter on your house, a new box goes on the outside. It's called a NID. It's just a plastic box that goes on the outside of the house. And that brings the service to the home. And then electronics go inside the home to provide a residential gateway. It provides your Wi-Fi router. And optionally, the homeowner can put a battery backup system there to improve it. So with this system deployed, there's reliable power at our central office. And then if you have battery backup, we see this in practice. You know, our customers on Fry Island get about 4 to 5 hours of useful service, even when power has been lost. And obviously, if you're living in Maine, you may have a generator or be aware of longer power outages. And you'll be able, with the solution, keep your internet connectivity, which can then support your voice, telephone, and your TV up for longer periods of time. And that together provides a really much more reliable, robust solution. So I think we have one more slide that Brandy's going to talk about. And then we're going to have really open up to Q&A here in the room as well as on the phone or on the Zoom meeting. So please either plan to use the chat or raise your hand and be recognized in a few minutes. But first, Brandy's going to get the key part.
All right, so you might want to know how you actually get service. So as I mentioned, the way that we decide where and how we're going to build and on what timeline is the survey. So we're asking everyone to fill out that survey, and please tell your neighbors. I have some flyers here. If anybody who's on the Zoom wants flyers to hand out to their neighbors or put in their business or wants a yard sign, please send us a message on our website, and I would be happy to meet you and give you flyers or yard signs that you can put out. And we're going to be doing a referral program. So we're encouraging people to tell all their neighbors and friends. So anybody who completes the survey before the end of the year will go into a drawing, and one person who fills out the survey by the end of the year will receive a $75 per month credit on their bill for 6 months when service is available. If you tell your neighbors and they put your name down as how they heard about the survey, the resident in each town with the most referrals by January 1st will receive a $75 a month credit for 3 months. And then the business with the most referrals by January 1st will get $85 a month credit for 6 months. So you have a chance to win some free internet service for 3 to 6 months if you tell your neighbors and complete the survey. So please take care of that and let us know if you need any materials to help get the word out. We would appreciate it. And then we will open it up for questions.
So I think the request was for in the room, if people want to ask a question, to come up to the podium so they can hear you.
Makes it even harder. So, I'm sorry, you want to go?
You know.
All right. So I'm a nerd. I have I'm drooling about having gigabit up and down. But we do experience an enormous number of power outages, which are either snow related, et cetera, et cetera. So, or, sadly, cars driving into telephone poles. You're on those poles.
Yep.
And, as much as one can be upset about CMP and how they sort of restore power, I don't really care. I have a generator and lots of UPSs, but that's a big job. Or, I'm gathering this is family-owned,
So we have a
bootstrapping.
team of contractors, and our response time for major storm damage is actually at this point faster with our contracting team
Excellent.
than the major players such as Consolidated in the area.
Right.
To give you an analogy, I think you're probably aware of the microburst that hit last summer.
Yeah.
Hit the town of Sebago, unfortunately killed a young girl at the campground there. That was literally 2 weeks after we'd finished construction on Fry Island for the planned work that year. That storm came through, took down a tree that was about, I think, like this big across, it demolished central main power, consolidated our equipment to the ground for 600 feet, right in the center of our network. Our network continued operating. We were out there within an hour of the storm clearing, working with CMP as they did restoration to make sure that the fiber cables were not damaged. And then we actually rolled our crews out and we did repairs for both Consolidated and our equipment and restored service. During that whole time, Fry Island was without power for over 36 hours. Our equipment continued operating, our customers stayed online. Obviously, their batteries ran out at a certain point,
Right.
but our core services stayed up, powering the town's ferry operations and all those equipment that were on generator with no outage
How do you get to Fry?
by ferry.
I don't know, fiber-wise.
There's fiber under the lake,
Oh, interesting.
so commercial grade.
That's good to hear. More on the nerdy side, do I get a public IP, or are you double natting, or?
So we have public IP available for residential customers,
Right.
but by default, our goal is to have public IP for everyone. But as you know, that's complicated and
Yeah.
scarce.
Yeah.
So CGNAT will be used for some, but yes, public IPs are available.
Okay. And understand the need to want to manage whatever router you provide,
Yep.
but can it do pass-through and basically?
Yeah, you can get an Ethernet handoff and be bridged. We recommend a managed Wi-Fi router because if someone calls in and needs help debugging their Wi-Fi, it lets us assist those customers.
Right.
If you're capable of managing that all yourself, you're free to use your own device. It just limits our handoff being at the Ethernet connection. We can't help you debug your
Understood.
Wi-Fi or other issues.
Understood.
But that's perfectly supported.
And are any
But
ports?
it'll be more than a pass-through mode. You'll be able to use your router entirely.
That's the goal.
Yeah, the optical network unit is a bridged unit,
Okay.
and there'll be a separate Wi-Fi router. And so if you choose not to use that and to
Yeah.
give up the managed Wi-Fi, then that's perfectly acceptable.
And on your side, do you block any ports?
No.
No.
Okay. And the 15 milliseconds is to Google DNS?
Google.
That was measured to quad 8 right now.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
That's all.
And we have a published set of network guarantees you'll see. For residential, it's guaranteed to be below 30 milliseconds.
Right.
But we've been beating that so far, and we continue to make optimizations.
Well, I'm a Spectrum customer now.
So the measurements we took and showed on there, we took measurements in Raymond and Sebago
Yeah.
from residences on their cable service, and we saw latencies during the test periods between 35 to 130 milliseconds.
I see 40 to 50.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's during a
This
good
is-
time period.
I'm in Standish. And that's sort of a lead into the last question. I know you can't answer, but curious what the response has been to the survey so far.
So what we're gonna do is, so part of this process is that we're working with GPCOG Collab with a steering group, and to each board of selectmen, they're gonna get a report out of what the response of surveys in their community are to help them make decisions. Each of the towns has the option, if they wanna build municipal fiber between their locations. We will be showing them what for what they've asked us to propose to them for building. We'll be giving them what their cost is if they want to do that. But then we'll also show them what our investment's going to look like and what portions of the residents we are going to build out based on the signups, and then also show them if they want to make an investment, how that changes that. So the key thing at this stage is it's up to you. We need you to get your neighbors signed up,
Yeah.
and the bigger the cluster of people that you can get signed up in your area, the easier it is for us to come to that area. And that's what happened on Fry, is it started with the north end of the island had the most signups. We built that first. Then the outer egg did. And then so many people got interested in the middle of the island. Before we even got done building that, we extended it again. So the data, we're really a very data-driven company, and that's what we're focused on, is getting the data so we build the places. And by us building those places first, it lets us take the revenue from that and then reinvest and build the other areas over time. So key is this sign-up data and getting as many people to respond.
Yeah, okay. That's all I had.
So Standish has a good response rate right now, I'll tell you that. But we need more data. We don't have statistically significant enough data, 3 weeks in. We plan to be running this data for at least 10 weeks or more at this point.
And I've never been politically active, but I feel the need to go to the town meetings and make some noise. I mean, are you?
The main thing is to not be political, but just to make sure your neighbors are aware and they have the information.
Yeah.
This is a challenging time of the year to reach people with so many holiday things going on. And we love help getting the message out to let people know, to make their own decisions. We've got flyers here tonight. Brandy would be glad to give you. I will tell you the difference. We've had a few volunteers who stepped up and who really, in those unserved areas, there are those red dots in Baldwin areas where they don't have anything
Right.
for internet. And they are actively recruiting their neighbors and doing that. That's what makes the difference.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
We
Thank
have a
you.
gentleman with his hand raised.
And we also,
Hi, this is Mike O'Connor. How you doing?
good evening.
So I saw that you said no data caps. Does that mean you'll never do throttling either, based on consumption?
So each plan has a throughput rate or package associated with it, either the Fiber Essential to 100 megs, 1 gig, or 2 gigs. There's no data cap, and we won't throttle you because there's no data cap. So like, there's no data cap to exceed and then cause you to get throttled.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
sometimes data cap means like no more. Sometimes it means throttling. So, okay.
It's a good question.
And then just the second question I had was, for those that aren't necessarily too computer savvy, are you providing any kind of security tool set, either links or some sort of assistance there, or what does that look like?
That's a great question. So the managed Wi-Fi device that we use does come configured with a consumer grade security on it. There is a package that the customer can elect to get that would then provide additional security functionality on top of that. So we do not have that info on the website. We can get some more information published there.
Okay, great. And then just one more quick question. I don't know much yet about like your architecture. Are you susceptible to high volumes, lower or higher latency due to higher usage, or the 3 p.m. kids come home from school Netflix effect kind of thing?
Yeah, compared to what you're seeing with cable, we have a significant, the fiber technology we're using has significantly more bandwidth available per group of customers than what you're seeing with cable TV to start with. And then we always maintain a significant additional bandwidth on the uplink above that, so that you won't see those type of effects. We monitor this very proactively, and we buy bandwidth ahead of time to make sure we always have way more threshold than is needed. And this is one of the advantages of we're very focused on quality and customer service to make sure you don't see those impacts.
Excellent. That's great. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you for the questions.
Yep.
And did you have questions, sir? Then I've got a couple in the chat.
Great.
Where I live, there aren't a lot of houses. But I live right on Route 114 in North Sebago.
Okay.
Would that make it more likely that we would have it, as you got to come down the road anyway?
It does. So the other thing I'll mention is in the town of Sebago, you are in a grant area, and as long as that grant comes through, the entire town will get coverage. It won't be phased. It'll be, we do the whole town in 2024. We will build it in phases, just from a construction point of view. But Sebago is slightly different in this survey. The survey has been going on in Sebago since August in preparation for that grant, and has a very positive interest from the community of Sebago and North Baldwin. And assuming that grant, knock on wood, is awarded by the state in January, then the whole area be included. But by being directly on 114 on a main route, yes, you increase the probability. And the same thing applies in Raymond or the other towns. If you're on one of the main routes where either the town needs fiber or we have to bring fiber in order to connect it, such as the ring around the lake, then there's a higher probability of us being able to build that in an early phase.
Okay. Can you give me an idea of how long it would be?
So
Let's say you get the grant next month.
So the grant would be for the town of Sebago, the build timeline there that we've shared. If the grant's awarded in January, we'll be starting, you'll see construction on the ground starting around March. The earliest customers probably get lit up in July.
July, okay.
which is pretty fast in fiber construction time periods.
Okay, I'll have to take your word for it. I don't know anything about it. All right, I guess that's
but-
the only question I have.
And that grant does require that all construction be completed within 12 months,
Okay,
as we proposed it. So,
all righty,
Yep.
thank you.
So we have a Donald Travis asking, let's get this over here. With many summer vacation properties in Sebago where Wi-Fi usage is only needed for 3 or 4 months per year, do you offer a vacation mode for when the property is not used during the fall and through spring months with a reduced monthly cost?
so this is so I'm gonna give an answer. One, there's on the mainland, we're gonna offer some form of a seasonal option. You'll notice today on Fry Island, we do not, and that's because the island's 100% seasonal. So you'll continue to see different pricing between Fry Island and the mainland, but our intention is to have some form of a discount on the mainland. We have not published that yet. The key thing for us right now is knowing where the locations that there are interest to make the decisions about where we build.
And please elaborate on the grant status and timeline expectancy for Sebago. I think you have already.
Yeah, we've covered that. There is a meeting in January by the Maine Connectivity Authority where they'll be making their next recommendations, and that's all we know at this point.
For a community like Casco, how close is your main, there's a symbol over it,
Main feed.
main feed, yes, to Casco? And is it really likely service would come soon?
So for all 5 towns, the goal is to have a phase 1 that is in that town at the same time. It's not going to be we build Raymond and then we go and build the next town. In each town, we're looking at the data. So the area in Casco with the most signups is where we'll go first. That will be influenced by the town of Casco if they decide to build municipal fiber on specific routes between their town facilities. So that could influence where phase 1 is. So it's not like, Casco's further away from Raymond, therefore it's going to be later. It's really up to you and the signups. So the best thing to do is if you go out and get 5 of your neighbors to sign up and each of them gets 1 more person to sign up and there's a big cluster of homes, that's where we're going to go first. That's what I highly encourage everyone to do. And that's how we look at the data.
And I should have said that question was from Robert Williamson. The next is Elizabeth and Terry Lockhead. And I'm sorry to everyone if I murder your names. I represent a number of summer homes in Sebago, accessed by half a mile of road in Hiram. Will we have access to service?
So you're talking about you're over by Butterfield Lane in Hiram. I've been over the bridge. We've looked at the fiber or the power routes coming in there. Yes, that area is included in the town of Sebago and adjoining unserved area grants. The homes in Hiram that are passed as a result are included in the grant area, and the homes that you're talking about in the lake there, yes, they're included in the grant.
And then a Frank Newt, possibly. Sorry, I was just able to get on and wanted to ask about Standish.
So Standish is one of the 4 towns that is part of the demand survey. When we build in specific areas, a function of who signs up for the survey when, and the demand that's there. So town of Sebago and the adjoining areas that we showed on that chart are grant potential. We'll find out in January. The other 4 towns is based on the survey that's ongoing right now.
And for anyone who joined late, this presentation will be available on the Town of Raymond YouTube page tomorrow.
And we'll link it from SebagoFiber.net website as well.
Actually, if that one's for you, then we can make this one. And then Elizabeth and Terry, a follow-up question. If Sebago does not receive a grant, will SebagoFiber consider using its own capital?
Yes, in the town of Sebago in those areas, it is grant eligible because of the number of unserved areas. If the grant is not awarded, we will not be able to do universal service to the whole town. Sebago will be evaluated along with Raymond and the other towns based on the signups and the cost viability. Because in order for us to keep building, expanding, we have to build areas that have a high enough return. So it'll be evaluated on the same criteria. And the Board of Selectmen in Sebago will also have the same discussion at that point of what do they want to do for municipal fiber to accelerate that? But we're optimistic that that grant will be successful and that it'll be the foundation of then expanding around the lake.
And Frank is asking a follow-up question, specifically Bonnie Eagle Road in Standish.
So I may actually go back to this since we're talking. I'm going to bring the map up here. So in Standish, it's really a function of where people sign up and respond. We're too early in the data coming in to tell you likelihood of this road or that road. The key thing is to get your neighbors to sign up. I believe Bonnie Eagle Road is down near Bonnie Eagle, the high school down there. There have been signups throughout all of Standish, very well distributed. So it's really a matter of where the most interest is and where, if the town decides to connect some municipal facilities.
And Frank says, if you're looking for canvassing volunteers, I would definitely be interested for Standish.
And that is
Frank, N-U-I-T-E.
All right, I will send you a message, Frank. Thank you.
Then Robert Williamson again. Does it matter if another service is already in the area? Will your service still be demand-based?
So in the entire five-town area, the only existing services that are there on the poles that offer residential service are Consolidated DSL and Spectrum Cable. And neither one of those will discourage us from building. If it's an area that has fiber, for example, downtown Wyndham has fiber from GoNetspeed, you won't see us overbuilding an area where there's existing fiber to the home provider. But the areas that we are focused on are the area around Sebago Lake. There is no residential fiber to the home service.
And that's all the questions I have right now.
I had another question.
Sure.
How will we know whether you guys get the grant or not? Do we check your website? You're going to send us
Yep.
an email? Or?
So in the town of Sebago, if you sign up and you're in the town of Sebago, we'll be putting you on an email list specifically for Sebago in that grant area. There will also be updates on the website. Right now, we don't really have anything to update until we hear the results from the state. We're all in a hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
But Jerry Holt, who I know is on here from the Sebago Broadband Committee, Mary McKinnon, we also present to the select board of the town of Sebago with regular updates. We were there, was that last week? We were there for a meeting most recently. So we'll make sure you know, but if you fill out the survey and we see you're in that grant area, you're gonna get an email when we know something.
I filled it out last summer, I think.
To be clear, this survey, and this is, so there have been the Sebago Broadband Committee did previous surveys. If you haven't filled it out since this August, we'd ask you to do it, and there's no harm in filling it out more than once. We will deal with removing any duplicate data, but the key is to have your address in the grant area specifically. We want the addresses because it helps us validate the data and the locations that get included in the grant. If your home was, for example, missing from the state data, by you doing it, it makes sure, if we know about it, we're going to double check it.
All right. Thanks.
So Donald Travis is asking, will the survey sign up be extended past the end of this year as the word continually gets around about this opportunity?
Yes, we will keep the survey open, and it's part of our regular process up until us building. But the Brandy mentioned the first is sort of the dates for the first referral programs, incentives. We'll reassess and decide what we do January 2nd after we announce the winners of those referrals. But this is going to go on for a while. The more data we get, the more the word spreads. We know it takes time. And we know the holidays really aren't the best time to get the word out right now. So, you'll see us renewing our efforts in January. And it's really about getting that data so that we have the right data to make the decisions on the phasing and having those discussions with the select boards of each town. We present the town, if there's not enough data in the town, the select board could say they really wants to come back in 4 or 5 weeks after we get some more responses. And then we'll discuss with the select board and the town how to increase the message getting out there. And I just want to take a moment to stop and thank the town clerks, the town managers, the communication directors, the librarians, all the people and volunteers in different communities who've helped get the word out working with Brandy so far. They've done an immense job, but we really appreciate that. That's the most important thing, is just getting the feedback out, and we love the survey responses. Even if you say no thank you, that actually helps us to know and make better decisions. So please just, anybody who can, fill out the survey. It takes 3 minutes.
Then we've got Leanne Oren asking, how much demand has been reported for Raymond in the area around Route 121?
So I don't have town by town in front of me. Overall, the responses have been pretty well distributed right now. Almost every road has someone who's responded. The next key step is to get more than one response. So the best way you can impact this right now is to go talk to your neighbors, reach out to Brandy by email on our website. We'll be glad to provide you flyers, yard signs, any way to help you communicate that message. We have some standard emails that you can forward to people. We're trying to be respectful when doing this and work through the channels, but you know, get the message out by not being annoying at the same time. So, and there's about 30,000 things on social media right now for the holidays, so it's hard to get that message out.
Well, and one thing that I'll add to that is the town has posted your poster, as well as there was a memo of some sort. So anyone could grab that off our website or link to it.
Yep. And I really appreciate the town of Raymond has your electronic signage, which also has had the information. We've seen a lot of responses to that, and different
Good to know
organizations.
someone reads it. That's all the questions right now that I have, and there are no hands raised.
Any last call for questions in the room?
Two or three times somebody's used the word loop or around the lake, et cetera, et cetera. Is that a physical?
Yes, so part of our goal in building a reliable network, you mentioned telephone poles and cars hitting poles. So when we build a fiber network, we build it in rings or loops.
Yep.
We will be constructing a full ring around the lake, connecting multiple central offices that provide redundancy on the services.
So, and is that a first town deploy goal? Or
No, it's a goal. You know, our plans are to have a central office in Sebago, which is part of that grant, and the other location will be in Raymond. The goal is to connect those two as quickly as possible to form the first loop of the ring,
and then find another town.
and then complete it. So it's really about connecting the dots where the interest is. We don't have to complete that ring to be redundant. We have other ways to get the redundancy, but the key for us is connecting the areas of the demand. And then we know some towns, the town of Raymond, for example, wants their own municipal ring between their town buildings for reliability. So while, yes, cars do hit telephone poles, we do a lot of work to engineer it so when that pole breaks, the fiber stays up high and doesn't get damaged, ideally. So, you know, there's a lot of work done to deal with reliability in all aspects.
And the genesis of my question was, so being just off of 114 is probably a really good thing in Standish.
It can be, yes. There is a portion of 114 in Standish that already has main fiber company 3-ring binder fiber there. So we have an option there to use some of that. So it's possible for us to complete the ring without covering all of 114. But the key thing is if you look at 114 along there at the waterfront, there are some clusters that if a lot of people sign up, you know,
that's
so
my goal.
Look at your road, and then look at the areas around you, and encourage, helping get the word out there will help us make the decision. And we like data. You know, if an area has an overwhelming number of signups, we have an interest in going there, and it helps us make the decision.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Are there any further questions?
No, there aren't right now.
So the one thing I will mention is the website, SebagoFiber.net. The survey is SebagoFiber.net/lake. You'll find contact information there. Please feel free to send us emails as well. Ask your questions. We're glad to talk in more detail and answer people's questions. And we're very thankful to Raymond and all the towns for the opportunity to speak to you all tonight.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.